Hey y'all, it's John Ray with TRESR, and today we are going through our April numbers. It is now May, and we are looking back in time from April 1st to April 30th, and really these numbers reflect more April 5th to May 5th because that's when we release our commissions payout and these videos. So, hello, welcome. Let's dive right in. Total revenue for April was at $15,074. We are pretty consistently hitting this $15,000 number, which is great that we have kind of that base level consistency. It's also incredibly frustrating to me because we are not hitting the conversion numbers that I want to see on our ads on e-commerce. And I'll talk about what we're going to do about that later on in the presentation. And one of the things that is happening right now is that I either have to dedicate my time towards e-commerce and wholesale, basically making sure that all of those products get out the door and that we have the ads tuned in, or that I'm jumping on calls with people who want to order wholesale stuff for events, and that we do all of the developer stuff to make sure that their activation goes right, or I can focus on agency. But you'll notice that we ping pong between the two, and we now have a plan in place and some new team members that are going to allow me to primarily focus on the agency while the e-commerce stuff gets focused on and continues to scale with some of the new things that I'll be announcing here in a second. And the goal would be to first get both of these numbers at 15,000, which would basically double our baseline. And then once we can get our e-commerce conversion rate at 9%, which I know what we need to do it, it's just a matter of getting it done, we'll be able to start throwing money at e-commerce, knowing that for every dollar we spend, we're getting at least $5 on the back end. And that's the place that we want to get. I've gotten here many times with other e-commerce stores. We just have to get our tech aligned so that we can actually hit it. And I'll share some of my frustrations and some of the solutions that have come out of that later on in this video. We're not going to be doing a buyback this month. As written in the white paper, we do a buyback when we clear the hurdle rate. We actually hit a run-in with some of the new tariffs and ended up having some extra expenses related to that. I will go into it in a little bit more detail later on. I think I've got a whole slide dedicated to it. But we won't do a buyback this time. I did load the bonus pool up with 600,000 treasure that was funded from the excess treasure that we have in the TRESR treasury. And just so you know, we have around $30,000 worth of treasure that's sitting in that treasury reserve. I'm going to be putting 12,000 of that up on the OTC right now. If you're watching this video, it means it's already there. And we're going to ask community members that if you want to support this expansion that I'm about to announce, that you purchase treasure off of the OTC this month. That means that there's 18,000 in treasure value remaining in the treasury, and we'll be assessing how much of that goes to future bonus pools, aka buyback allocations, or if there are other ways that we want to distribute that, the OTC being one of them. We really just have to keep the game going long enough to get a couple of these bigger deals that we're doing due diligence on right now through, and I'll talk to that in a little bit. This brings our year-to-date revenue at right under 58,000, with the average monthly sitting just a hair under 15,000. This is good. Look, this is sustainable for us. When I announce some of the things that I'm about to announce, you'll see that we're going to be drastically reducing expenses, which is going to allow us to survive at this baseline. But to be fully transparent, I am personally funding the project to some extent as we push over the threshold to be able to lock in some of these larger deals, which is fine. I'm minting keys, and we're going to make it happen one way or another. I'm dedicated to making the project a success. I see the end vision and the light at the end of the tunnel, and I know what these bigger deals are worth, and so it's fine. We'll do whatever we have to do to get there, and I'll tell you some of what that's going to look like here in a second. Let's talk about the ecosystem stats. Really, this should be as of May 5. So we are now at 7,693 total keys minted. We minted 102 in April. We have 693 key holders. The highest key level is at 150. We had a 4.2% increase in our cumulative key level. So people obviously still leveling up. And we had a 21.6% increase in our VE treasure total. I'm going to keep adding these percentage increases in so that we can kind of get a baseline of what our increase each month looks like. Because I think it's more interesting to know how much did we add or subtract versus just seeing the total number. Our circulating supply reduced by 7.8%. That means that people were either staking or burning. And we burned 9.1%, or our burn total went up 9.1% this month. Let's see. Total staked was up 6.8%. Treasure and JLP, I didn't track this last month, so next month we'll have what the percentage changes. The key rewards pool has 156.76, so really right under 157 million treasure left. This is all the treasure left, plus, you know, a handful of million in the treasury. So once this is all distributed, we move into that new phase of the game where it's all about bonus pool position and really revenue buybacks. The bonus pool has 774,000 in there. 600 of that was just added. The remaining is people who haven't claimed from last month. And just so you can see, we've got the treasure supply over time continuing to drop. You can see there was a decent drop the last couple of days. VE treasure balance, you can see the top wallets here. Still a battle here at the top. I see several of these people trying to outstake each other, so that's fun to see that gameplay. You can always go into Treasure Terminal and you can load these charts by doing VE leaderboard type, or let's see, we'll do table. That's right. So if we want to see more than just the top 10 here, we can do table type equals VE treasure and wallets. Let me just see what the command is. Wallets, yeah, equals 100. And this shows us the top 100 if you want to see where you're at in this ranking. This can be more useful given most of us are not in the top 10. Okay. We've got the Treasure AVAX JLP balance, and that looks to have stayed about the same. So let's jump into our top creators for the month. We had iHodl Life, who we do all of the fulfillment of their Shopify store. So these were... They had sales through ihodllife.com. We have a new partner that we're working with that I can't announce yet, but they did a big order for the Avalanche Summit. A new creator named Soltech. And if you go to treasure.com, I've added our creators for the month to the top here, so you can scroll through and see some of these. So this is Soltech. He's a streamer that has a bunch of followers, and so he's starting to sell some merch with Treasure. Really cool to see that. Great guy, and we're working on some special stuff with him. Gribbly had some really cool album-related cock gear, so check out that. You can always click through on any of these top-selling designs and then click on the creator to see all of the other stuff that creator has put out. But all of these had some sales on them. Who else we got? Sore Thumb Collective has been putting up a bunch of Twitter posts for people that are going to Summit, and this was his top selling design this month. Moonwake Forge, congrats to new creator Moonwake Forge. Had a couple of top selling shirts here, looking really cool in the Blood Moon category. I Am Stoppable had a few items selling and is kind of going into this category brand style shirt. So congrats there. Then we had Meme Lord. What was it that I sold? Oh yeah, the tech support shirt. Mad Tech had these Art of the Tariff shirts that were building some buzz, and then Teriel had the Bull Run t-shirt. So congrats to our top 10 creators for April. One of the things that I'm going to be experimenting with is running ads into our top creators and adding some of our top designs onto platforms like Etsy, maybe even Amazon, maybe Redbubble. I'm going to play around with what works, but being one of the top 10 creators in the month is going to become more and more valuable, which means you really want to promote your stuff or buy your own supply so that you can get into these top 10 and be a part of some of that experimentation. The USDC is going to be airdropped later this week. We're in a process of knowledge transfer of how all of this back end works and extracting it from Mikkel's nervous system into more decentralized documentation so that this is easier to pull. I'll speak to that a little bit more. One of those processes is how we're running the commissions, and anyhow, these will go to your dynamic wallet later this week, and this is the claim guide and the place that you can log in on the website to get that. Ideally, this auto claim is going to be ready in May. This is tentative. We'll see where we get, and you'll see what I mean when I announce some of the upcoming changes. Some of our upcoming activations, we continue to really crush it in the event space. That's where we're doing all of our wholesale deals. So we obviously have the big Avalanche Summit that's coming up in London this month. I'll be traveling to London along with several people from the community. That starts on May 20th, and we have a trading card activation, AVAX Card Series 2, that we're doing with Ava Labs. Kuroshi is doing a redacted thing at Summit that we helped them create. And we have a redacted third partner that I will announce once it's live at Summit. iHuddle Life is also doing an event in Canada at the end of this week. And we supplied them some stuff for that event as well. So really appreciative of all of our partners. If you have an event that you know is being planned and you know somebody on the planning committee, definitely connect me, because we've got some cool case studies now that we can talk about for how to utilize our tech at an event. One partnership spotlight that I wanted to highlight, we already put it in Discord, but we have formed a partnership that we're calling kind of a case study venture with another Space Odyssey. And as you'll see, we're kind of reimagining the TRESR platform to be this hub or journey for how to grow IP and build it into a distribution network, both in the real world and online. And Another Space Odyssey is one of those projects that will be helping figure out distribution for that IP, what it looks like to integrate that into physical products. I really want people to go and watch the YouTube. We initially put this video on the TRESR X channel and then followed up with the YouTube link. But the YouTube link didn't get a ton of views, and it would be great for us to be able to showcase community support. So even if you already watched the video this month on Twitter or X, it would be great to go ahead and watch that again on YouTube so that we can get the view count up. We had around 2,000 views of this video on X, and we're at 32 views on YouTube. Let's get these views up. I'm going to put this in Discord again, but you're watching this video, you're going to get to meet the guys that are running this project. Really nice, cool guys, incredible vision, incredible universe that they're building, really cool characters. Right now, if you go to asonft.com and you mint one of these, half of the proceeds are going to be used to form Treasure LP. So let's definitely support where we can, and we'll be announcing some further initiatives of what this partnership is going to look like. But really excited to have Another Space Odyssey be kind of the first people that are stepping into this new ring that we're calling Case Study Ventures, which is really that project getting full access to our agency staff, to our operational team, to the infrastructure that we built around merchandise. More around this to come, but really excited about it. And I guess that brings me into kind of a shift that we're making ideologically in how we think about Treasure, from just being an e-commerce or print-in-demand shop to really being a creator IP platform. So I'm going to read the statement that Andrew wrote because I think it does a really good job of talking about what this evolution looks like and kind of what we're pivoting towards right now. But Treasure has developed a strong proof of concept through its shop and merchandise creator tool, allowing users to design and sell creations directly to their audience. So that's the print-on-demand use case that we've proven out with the current tech stack. But now we're entering into a new chapter because Treasure is evolving from a product platform into a comprehensive community engagement and brand management system. This is based on not hundreds, but a lot of conversations that we've had with larger tier 1, tier 2 partners. Everything that we're doing is a pivot towards what we know these larger agencies, these larger projects are willing to pay money for. Because right now we're essentially nickeling and diming our way to $15,000 every single month, when some of these agencies, if we just tweaked our platform a little bit, would be willing to pay $50,000, $100,000 for some of these activations if we had the proper tracking and the proper mechanisms for gamification. That gamification comes from us reimagining the platform as essentially an incentivized journey for a creator to go from, I don't know anything about creating merchandise or community, all the way up to now I have IP that is internationally known and I'm running my own events, etc., activations. We want to build out a badge system, a gamification system, and Andrew is spearheading what this is going to look like, what the infrastructure is looking like, and really we're reimagining what the tech structure needs to be to support this larger idea as we kind of build in the direction of some of these partners that we're doing due diligence in. So the shop in this new reimagined version of Treasure just becomes one piece of a much larger ecosystem. And that transformation is going to include building scalable operational infrastructure. And by scalable, we mean easy to test, easy to pivot, like clear documentation so that we can bring in many different developers when needed, so that we can incentivize other projects to build into our platform. Right now, it's incredibly vexing for me as a marketer to test anything because I have to have a full dev team go and update it. There's not an easy way for me to update a lot of things. And this has made the progress of finding that 9% conversion rate very slow going, and so Andrew is already in the middle of basically moving us off of our prototype proof of concept and into something that's going to be more operationally tight and scales a little bit better. And that includes building, the technical architecture for decentralized engagement. Because we want to have projects that build into the Treasure rails in a permissionless way without having to go through me. And I'll tell you what the first of those projects is going to look like. And then we need to have more hand-holding. We need to be able to have these 7 stages that we've identified of IP growth or creator growth or brand growth. And when somebody joins the platform, they need to be able to raise their hand and self-identify where they're at in that creator journey. And by self-identifying, we then essentially dynamically build milestones around where they're currently at on their journey and provide a series of carrots or badges or points. This is where we get back into the conversation about bonus points and badges and rewards and how all of that plays into being able to support different brands on the platform. All of this theoretically has been talked about, discussed, labeled in many ways in some of our forward-facing documentation, but we're finally integrating all of this into the underlying architecture, and now Andrew is owning that entire process, and as part of that will help us keep better timelines, bring in the specific knowledge needed for various aspects of the technology, and really taking some of the project management off of me so that I can focus on growing the agency side. And with these new tools, this new team structure that I'm going to outline, and these creator-focused systems, we're laying the foundation for a platform that isn't just selling merch. We don't want to be a competitor with Redbubble. We don't want to be a competitor with Amazon. Sure, those might be places that we can get exposure, but ultimately our platform is about building movements through these activations that we can build, incentivizing real world behavior, real world movements. Think about Fight Club when Tyler Durden says, hey, I want you to destroy a piece of public artwork and a corporate store at once. I'm not saying that we need to be these nihilists that are going around and doing that, but we do want to incentivize certain actions that we can then have a publicist go and elevate to the Rolling Stones or to the Esquire magazines of the world, because that's ultimately what builds brand value for TRESR, that allows us to then go to agencies with that Esquire magazine article and say, hey, did you see what we did with this brand? Well, now for only $250,000, we can do that same activation where you get somebody to go to all of your different vendors to collect these trading cards or to stamp these digital badges onto their passport. And that builds a movement, literally a movement of people in the real world. And so right now, almost all of our sales are people who resonate with a design, which is fine. But we want to build scan rituals where you're scanning your sleeve on a regular basis to get these points, to get these badges, and to incentivize your community or yourself as a community member to stay engaged with all of these different brands that we plan on onboarding. So I've said some of that before, and really we have been too overwhelmed to be able to integrate all of that well. We have these disparate portions that work really well, but they're daisy chained together with duct tape. And so we have to now take what worked as a proof of concept and bake that into actual domain level strategy and infrastructure. And so to do that, we brought on Andrew, who is now the infrastructure visionary that is holding all of this in his nervous system and extracting everything from me and Mikkel and everybody else in the project, putting it into documentation so that we don't have very important person syndrome or risk, which is one of the things that some of the partners that we've been talking about were worried about. So he's going to be leading infrastructure, development, and operations, both on the tech platform side and the integrating all of that tech with our manufacturing partners. We've brought on a new front-end developer named Santiago. You've likely seen him chatting in Discord. Really great guy, really knows his stuff, and has already done a lot to clean up the existing site, and is working with Andrew on the back end to rebuild the creator tool and a lot of other cool tech and features that will ultimately get surfaced to the end user and make the platform more intuitive, more fun, and more usable. We've also brought on a new developer, back-end developer named Tirawat. Again, very knowledgeable when it comes to domain-specific programming and essentially taking a proof of concept and making sure that we own all of that tech because I spent April inspired by Elon Musk. I did some zero-based accounting. So zero-based accounting is when you basically turn your credit card off so that you can see all of the expenses pinging you. Hey, we need you to pay this. Hey, we need you to pay this, just to make sure that you have a clear understanding of where all your expenses are. And then you either cancel those or you identify where they fit in the priority of the tech and determine as a larger strategy, should we rebuild this ourselves and integrate it, or do we want to still be reliant on this third-party service? We have over $3,000 a month that we spend in replaceable service costs right now. And so already Andrew is starting to implement in this new system ways to be able to replace this so that we aren't trying to take our concept and force it into somebody else's concept. Instead, we're stripping these things down to only the features that we need and baking those into the new platform. And the good thing about how all this is built is that we don't have to turn the whole platform off and then flip it back on with a new platform now. Everything is designed in such a way where there's clear delineation between front end and back end. And so we can slowly implement changes on the back end that will enhance the front end, but you as the user are never even going to know that the back end changed because essentially the way that it's set up now, we can easily mix and merge repos and repositories now. And we'll have a community call on Thursday with Andrew, and he can speak more to some of the technical side of this. But really excited to have Santiago and Tirwat on the team. So what's happening to Mikkel? Well, Mikkel has gotten us this far, has been the savior who really helped us take something that wasn't working a year and a half ago and turned it into something that now is a thriving platform with 15,000 plus a month in revenue. We have a really tight proof of concept that Mikkel helped us to develop, and now it's just a matter of fine-tuning that. And so, because Mikkel wants to continue to follow his curiosity and help us expand various aspects of TRESR, he's transitioning off of the TRESR core code and launching his own TRESR-powered project that is going to be targeting... It's basically an RPG tabletop project that is using reflective AI. He's calling it Tap Tavern. He's building this with his friend Isaac, and I'll have an interview and his new website soon to share with you so that you can see what he's doing. But this is going to be the first example of somebody building a separate project into the TRESR rails that, of course, Mikkel helped develop, and utilizing our trading cards in a really interesting way. So I'm excited to announce that later on in the month. The goal will be to reduce these $3,000 a month in service costs, with Mikkel transitioning out and us moving to kind of a sweat equity based arrangement with Andrew, Santiago, and Tirwat. We're going to be able to massively reduce monthly expenses. And this is what we should be doing. We're not in the mode of what works anymore. It's really about fine-tuning our conversion rates and fine-tuning long-term what does our tech stack represent and what philosophy are we speaking to now. And so, that's what this team transition is about. And big picture, we want to reduce reliance on third-party tools, have an API-focused rebuild where we're really highlighting post-scan experiences and allowing these different partners that we're talking to build into our API. That's going to be a big part of what Andrew is ultimately focusing on. And yeah, I guess I'll just say we're actively working with or talking to some tier 1 partners on Cardano and now the Abstract blockchain. And really excited about what those partnerships could look like. But those partners need specific things from the tech platform, and that's what Andrew is now going to be pivoting us towards. We'll build on top of what those top tier partners are asking for, and with or without those deals closing, it's going to put us in a position where that type of partner can now integrate with us. And that ultimately allows us to use our platform rails to grow intellectual property via these case study ventures, because what we can do is either sell our services as an agency or partner for equity in projects or revenue share in projects that we build out as case study ventures. This is going to be a really interesting model as it comes together over the next 2 quarters. And basically what that operational roadmap is going to look like, this is defined by Andrew, is re-examining the org structure. That's everything from governance. As you'll see, we've got a soft vote coming up regarding VE treasurer management, team roles, the internal workflows that are going to make us more efficient, aligning ourselves with the AI on the back end, dev planning, which is the full roadmap for this new reimagined platform, this evolution of the platform. The merge pipeline, which is the integration of the tech into some of our manufacturing processors, which ultimately is going to reduce our cost of goods, make our profit margin bigger, and allow us to scale better. This includes setting up shop in various international regions so that we're not so beholden to tariff rates, and we can have better shipping prices and shipping times. Andrew's going to be overall hiring, onboarding, and roles. Obviously, I'm actively engaged with him on a daily basis, and so I'll be involved as well. But he's going to be owning these things. Moving to an agile model of development, which is what I was talking about, where we don't have to turn the whole thing off and turn it on now, because we can slowly roll out in more of a waterfall fashion. Is that what I'm trying to say? No, in more of an agile fashion, we can slowly roll out features instead of having to, wait for 6 months and roll everything out at once. We'll be able to roll these things out, on a regular basis, and it's not going to interrupt the flow of what's happening on the shop. Building out better SOPs, which are operational procedures around our admin team. So this is everybody from who's the people running our Twitter and Instagram, to some of my admins that are helping kind of manage some of the merch process. And then finally, working with some interesting banking APIs to better manage our commission flow and just how we handle cash flow, how we budget over 90 days, 6 month, and multi-year periods. And again, this is an area of Andrew's expertise that as COO, he's going to be guiding us into something that investors want to see. We're not necessarily looking at the venture capital route traditionally anymore, although we are still talking to venture capital partners about them potentially buying out all of the keys and having that be the mechanism for them being involved in the project. That feels more interesting, I think, until those keys are completely gone. It puts everybody on the same playing field where your participation and ownership of keys is relational to the payout that you're receiving in the platform. All right, next, Santiago and Andrew are already pretty far along with Creator Tool 2.0. Andrew will be sharing a demo of what that looks like, but we're basically completely rebuilding this around all the feedback that we've gotten, with the goal to have everything focused around design lines. So if I have one design, you can see my all over print shirt. This new system allows us to more easily add new product integrations, which is kind of a pain right now. So this is actually a shirt that Mikkel designed. We were testing some all over printing, but this new creator tool allows us to more easily add in new products like that and integrate with the manufacturers who would do it. Easier collections, the ability to have light dark variants, grouped products, everything. So I can have one design and then have that on a hoodie, on a t-shirt, on a trading card, on a hat, and it all lives on the same product page. So you're not having to go all over the place to find the garment that you want. This is going to be optimized for both designers and non-designers, and will play into the future gamified experiences and integrations, this basically roadmap or journey that we want to take creators on, where when you create your first design line, you're going to get a badge. Shout out to Enthiox for giving some really good bullet points on what we should be giving points and badges away for. So each step in the process, creating a collection, making your first sale, making your first 10 sales, we want to have a gamified experience where you're earning points and badges for that. And you know what the next tier of reward is for you. You know what your next task is so that you can stay focused. And then this is going to allow us to more easily do A/B testing. I'm actually, because it's such a difficult process for me to quickly change things or to create two different variations of a page, I'm actually going to be spinning up something like shop.tresr.com and using some other tools that I know to easily build landing pages, just to test some ideas on how we could get our product pages to convert to cold ads better. This is going to make it much easier. I'm not going to have to wait on all these features to be available. I'll just use some existing landing page tools, ClickFunnels, etc., to test what language makes somebody who doesn't know about TRESR want to get involved in TRESR. I should have done this a long time ago. I just thought things were going to move faster. Anyhow, correcting that now. We'll have a separate subdomain where I'm taking some of our top projects, testing it with cold ads, figuring out what design is actually going to work on these and language is actually going to work on these product pages. And then once we know, okay, this design, this copy, everything's set up this way, converts at over 9%, then we'll map it into the full platform. This is going to be an easier way for us to move forward. And again, should have done it a long time ago. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. We learn, we live and learn and move forward. So let's talk about the OTC platform and Treasury. I have now put $12,000 worth of TRESR in the OTC that I'd like to sell in May. If you want to support some of this expansion that I'm talking about, and make sure that we're able to move as quickly as we want to move, please purchase TRESR from the OTC. There's 18,000 and change remaining of TRESR in the Treasury, and that's going to be used for bonus pool or additional OTC sales over the next 2 quarters. The goal is to have all of the tokens in supply before we hit the supply cap, and that ideally sets the benchmark where we can move into the next phase of the project, where it's all about doing buybacks, burning tokens, being deflationary in nature, etc. So let's talk about the agency strategy that, because Andrew is stepping in with Terawatt and Santiago, is going to allow me to stay more focused on building agency revenue, which gives us just another lever to maintain sustainability. So first off, we're in conversations with some tier 1 and tier 2 IP projects. We're really thinking about what is existing IP that has been underutilized or underpromoted that we can step in as a partner and really rocket ship. And so as an agency, the services that we're offering are not just marketing, but also infrastructure, the operational systems for how they should be running the project, to some extent helping them think about their entity structure, their bank accounts. These are all things that Andrew and I have had to painstakingly figure out in TRESR, and we can offer that same guidance to projects that want to legitimize around their IP. That's intellectual property. And then ultimately, it'll be all about creating that scan ritual in the project where their community is incentivized to engage with the TRESR tech on a regular basis, and building out IRL in real life activations for how we can build movements, move physical bodies in the real world. And so this could be something like one of the things we're doing at Avalanche, where we want to get 100 people all wearing the same shirt and provide rewards for them doing that. And so now you have this walking billboard at a conference that's as small as Avalanche. If there's 100 people wearing a shirt all on the same day, well, that is going to be a clear signal to the people there, hey, check out this platform. I'm going to be reopening some of the services that I used to offer to my Web 2 clients. So that's things like SEO, websites, and consulting. A lot of this is about Andrew and I building some tooling and better processes around this that can ultimately stamp onto creator platforms. But all of that agency revenue is ultimately going to run through TRESR now. And so when the time is right, I'll let you know if you have a local business, if you have a business that you want to support, if you have a project that you want to get ranked in Google. I have a lot of experience with this, as I know other people in the community do. And so we'll be highlighting and integrating some of those tools into our systems on the back end. We want all creators to be able to SEO, to be able to put ad tracking on their products so that whether they hire us or they want to run their own ads, there's more data available for them to do that. As I mentioned, I'll be launching those shop domains, and all of this is playing into the strategy of being able to showcase efficacy when I'm meeting with agency pilots or agency clients. The new pilot that I already mentioned, but I'll say again, is that we did have another project on Ethereum, I believe, that was selling merchandise. And one of the value adds they were offering to their community was for like $500 a month, they would run ads for you and manage your listings on Amazon, Etsy, Redbubble, etc. I'm going to explore that this month and see, is there really volume there? Does that make sense for us as a strategy? And then if it does, maybe we open that up as part of our agency services. Okay, one of the reasons we're not doing a buyback this month is because tariffs are one of the beautiful words in the US language. Trump's tariffs. Well, I totally get why this is happening, and I'll explain. But right now, our NFC chips come from the UK, and they're being taxed at the border an additional 14%. So not huge for us, but we did have to make an NFC order last month, and it was unexpected because the tariffs went into place after we had already kind of put that recurring order in. The rubber soft vinyl tags that we use are from China, and those are right now being estimated to have 145% tariff. I'm trying to hold off as long as possible to see how those tariffs get negotiated, but we're probably going to have to pay 1.5 times what we were for the rubber tags, which is going to be another additional expense, which is why I'm putting some TRESR up in the OTC. We are exploring some US-based alternatives. I actually was able to talk to some manufacturers in Kerrville, and I listened to a really great interview with Theo Vaughn and Mike Rowe talking about American manufacturing. There's a huge opportunity and lots of tax incentives and potentially grants available to people who explore some of these US alternatives. That's kind of the whole point of this. And so I'm actively seeking out anything that could resemble tax breaks or grant money for moving these things to the US. And like I said, come to find out, there's actually some pretty decent infrastructure for manufacturing about 2 hours from here in a city called Kerrville. Because of these tariffs, we've had a ton of products that got held at the border or sent back to us because they didn't have the proper new paperwork. So if you redeemed a prize shipment that had a duffel bag in it, it's likely that it got shipped back to us, which then we have to pay double shipping now, and we have to figure out what the tariff rate is. So these are still being held and haven't shipped. I think that I have it all resolved and we'll get those shipped out this month, but that's why you haven't gotten your product yet. So all outstanding duffel bag orders or large prize season orders, really any order that where you ordered more than 5 shirts, if you're international, it got held at customs, and so we had to figure something out. So that's going to be going out in May, and I apologize on the delay. I don't know that there's anything we could have done because there wasn't a lot of good information about what to do. So that's what's happening with tariffs if you're curious how it's affecting a real world business. Let me take a quick drink of water and I'll get into this Pearl Key utility soft vote. Okay, so we have a proposal that is now up for soft vote in Discord that is all about burning stake treasure to lock VE treasure into Pearl keys. You can read through the entire thing here, but the idea is that we're looking to incentivize minting Pearl keys so that we can mint out the remaining 4,300 and change. The benefits of doing this is that it's going to reduce future sell pressure on the treasure token, and adds a liquidity layer for VE treasure. So if we ever want treasure to run as a meme coin, or to have a chance to build out speculative value, it's going to be difficult with a bunch of wallets that have millions and millions of treasure, that can unstake at any time and just dump into any upward price movement. And if we give the incentive to burn all of that treasure to lock in your VE treasure into a Pearl key, then that means that there's not as much sell pressure, and maybe we build out more speculative value in the future once we hit a supply cap. This makes VE treasure more portable and strategic. So there's a lot of people in the community that have been wanting to move their VE treasure to another wallet. This allows you to do it. It obviously encourages more key mints and secondary value of those Pearl keys, and it adds an optional layer for long-term stakers. So this is now up for soft vote with 5 days of discussion. If it passes in soft vote, we will incorporate all the community feedback and put it up for a snapshot vote next week. All right, things that are coming up. We're going to be talking more about this creator journey framework that Andrew and I are developing and what that gamification can look like, and getting some feedback. As I mentioned, we're going to have a community AMA on Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern. That's 8 p.m. UTC. I think that's going to be a time where we can hit most of the people in the community. So I will put up that invite in Discord. Make sure that you RSVP. 1 second. Excuse me. We're working on that API-ready backend for decentralized integrations, including Mikkel's new project, Tap Tavern, which we'll be announcing later this week, most likely. Case study ventures are something that we're exploring as an agency now, where we're basically going in as partners into a project and getting involved not just at a marketing level, but at an operations level, and really using this to back engineer what some of the bonus point structure should be, incentivization structure should be. It's just easier to build all that out when you have an actual project that you can build around. In the next 6 months, we're going to be reaching supply cap. There's 157 million treasure left to be distributed. So that's going to be this inflection point where strategy in the game will change. And so everything that we're doing is to kind of be positioned in our platform with our agency revenue, with the way that we're working with partners by the time that we hit that supply cap. And then focused on growth across Web 3 and Web 2 channels. One of the things that good IP requires is Web 2 distribution. These are deals with Amazon on demand. I'm forgetting what the name of it is. Distribute retail distribution through places like Walmart or grocery stores. This is all stuff that I've done, and to some extent Andrew has done through various projects that we've worked with in the past. And we want to encapsulate all of that knowledge, extract it from our nervous systems into systems, incentivized rewards, aligned actions, and decentralized documentation, so that we can empower more projects to thrive, to take their IP and actually do something with it. And a longer conversation is probably that we think there's an opportunity to kind of go back to something we talked about in the early stages when we were still not even NF Treasure yet, but that's taking over dead NFT projects and growing that IP into something. We've had some really interesting conversations about this with some parties that are interested, and I think that is a potential in the future. So that's what I know. That's what's going on. That's the direction that we're headed. Watch this a couple times if you need to. This document is in Discord if you want to go through it at a slower pace, but jump into the community AMA on Thursday with John and Andrew. And yeah, let's just have a fireside chat about all of this, and we can give it some more detail, put some meat on the bones so that everybody understands where we're headed, what the opportunities we're seizing on are, and what the back end potential could look like for those. Until then, we'll see you in Discord, and I appreciate you watching this far through. Bye, y'all.